All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's do a little talking about trucking business and how things go out here. One thing I love about dryvan, and I'll tell everybody because I've done reefer and I've done flatbed and I've done hopper bottoms and feed auger trailers and log trailers and you name it, I've pretty much done it. And dryvan is about my favorite. And one of the main particular reasons I like dryvan is you can run 7 days a week with proper planning. You do not miss a day because there are shippers and receivers that work on the weekends. Unlike flatbed and most of them, I mean, reefers do pretty good, but there tends to be more dryvan loads out there than anything when you're talking about weekend working. And that's just in my experience. It may be different in different parts of the country. I work the Southeast, and down here, it does seem that the weekends you can work a lot in the dryvan. All that being said and discussed, here is what has gone on this week. All right, y'all. I mean, look, I have to schedule myself to be home for certain events. Well, I had to be home on the 14th for Valentine's Day. And, well, that was a Tuesday, right? So I left out Wednesday. Or, no, I actually left out Thursday because I had something to do Wednesday. Anyway, so that put me having to run through the weekend and try to make the money. And so we've been running the weekend. And I made my delivery on Saturday, no problem. Early that morning in Houston. So I found a load that picked up on Sunday morning in Beaumont, which was no big deal. Beaumont went to Laverne, Tennessee, was going to pay me $1,450. Not great money, but it kept me moving. It kept revenue coming to the truck. So I was glad to get it. And, well, I swing by there Saturday afternoon because this particular place will load you early if they have the product. But they did not have the product. Bum. So I go back to the truck stop and I relax. And come back the next morning and check in. And the lady was going to let me check right back in like I did yesterday. The day before. That way it wouldn't have been no issue. I wouldn't have had to wait behind 6 or 7 trucks. But they still didn't have my particular product. So they told me they would be closing at 3 o'clock and to come back the next day. And I don't know if y'all know me very well. I'm not just going to sit around and wait for days on no load. I work this dryvan working the daily rate and the cost, cents per mile. And low markets, your daily rate, which adds up to what you get for the end of the week, is extremely important. Sometimes, well, most of the time in a low market, you're not going to get that rate per mile that you want. But your truck has to move in order to make your bills. So I look at the rate per day. Like, I'm still trying to make $1,000 a day, and I got real close to that this week. So I got that load Thursday morning and delivered it Friday morning in Fort Smith. And I got my next load and I delivered it in Houston on Saturday morning. Was hoping to get that one in Beaumont for Saturday evening, but I went by Sunday morning and didn't get it. And my rate per day was looking really good. I was hitting $1,000 a day. I really was. Until this load fell apart. And so I called the broker. Well, actually, there wasn't in there. I had to send an email, and he actually called me back this evening. He's like, "Oh, I got you. No problem, man. We'll get you the tow new." And that was Gulf Relay. They're pretty cool. And so I got right on the load board. The click and goes usually are your first shot on the weekends. Nothing happening where I was at. So I go to the DAT board, and lo and behold, TQL saves the day. They had a load that picked up 30 miles from my location and went to Little Rock. Now, granted, the load I was taking to Laverne, Tennessee was going to be $1,450, and the one going to Little Rock is going to be $850. So that's $600 of gross revenue gone. Yes, I'm gonna be pulling less miles, but I was wanting that day rate, and that load was taking me through the house. I would have been at home Sunday night if I could have got that load Sunday morning. If I could have got it Saturday, I'd have been home Saturday night because I had the time. But you know, when you're trying to make these things work, you got to work with the loads that are available. And when the volume is down, it's harder for me to position myself where I need to be. So far this year, I've been having to work out on the road and sleep in this bunk more than I wanted to. I don't like it at all, but it is what it is, you know, and you just keep working and you keep pushing, and one day the volumes are going to come back. One day the rates are going to come back, and it's going to get better and better and better. All that being said, I got the load in TQL, which has normally got a bad rep, saved the day. Now, granted, the load that I got from TQL was a little complicated, and but he did try to explain the best he could up front that you needed a good trailer when you went to get the load. That's about all he said. But when you got there, they wanted this rascal swept. It needed to be fairly new, and it will get rejected. Matter of fact, out of the 3 trucks that was there, 1 got rejected. I believe it was because he had an older trailer. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, it was sketchy because this trailer is fairly new, but it's been put through the ringer. So I got the load today, which is Sunday, and I made it all but 16 miles to the receiver. The receiver has recently put up fences and gates to keep people from parking overnight. Thank the good Lord for Google Street View, because the reviews were saying you could on some of them, and then one of them said there was no overnight parking. Well, I can see now why there's not. So I'm planning on going in there between 7 and 8 in the morning and trying to get this stuff unloaded. Shouldn't be a problem. My next load, hopefully, will take me home. But I run Monday to Monday, and I started off, Thursday morning? And Monday morning, I'll be at around $4,000. Right close to $4,000. So that puts me pretty good. And then next week, I've got some stuff going on. Y'all will probably catch some of that in videos down the road. But, oh yeah, it's stressful sometimes when you run last minute freight. I run last minute freight. I'm not the guy that plans myself out for a week ahead of time. I've had discussions with other drivers who love to plan themselves out. I'm not that guy. I'm capable of going through everything and finding the best freight possible at the moment. And a lot of times, that last minute freight will pay off. Sometimes it don't. Sometimes, especially like if you hit Florida on a Friday or Fort Smith on a Friday, it can be really stressful. Like I gained a new gray hair or 2 this week trying to find that load on Friday, but it did pop up Friday right before lunch, so I could grab it and deliver it on Saturday. Now, Saturday night was a hard run, no doubt, but I got it done. And Reliable Transportation Solutions, LLC, they did go a little overboard with the check-ins and paperwork and stuff, but hey, every T was crossed and I was dotted, and I didn't have an actual problem with the load. So I would recommend them. You just go through the steps and do what they want you to do, and it all works out fine. It really does. I enjoyed kind of working with them. They communicate very well. But we used those, and we used TQL on this one, and so far I should be able to get it off in the morning And once the dashboard is up and everybody's awake, I should be able to find a load going back by the house, because I'm ready to go home. I really am. I don't like staying out here like a lot of you guys do. I like going through the house. Normally what I like to do is Atlanta to Houston, or San Antonio to Atlanta, or really like San Antonio to Florida. That one pays pretty good. Florida coming out is not going to pay good. There's a lot of good paying loads right now going to Denver. There's the Colorado area. I mean, I was tempted, but I don't have no snow chains, and I ain't fitting to put no snow chains on. If it's cold enough for snow chains, Nate ain't going. It ain't happening. Just ain't gonna do it. If it catches me in a snowstorm, it's because I wasn't paying attention. I was not looking at it ahead of time. And very rarely will you catch me slipping where I'm not watching the weather when I'm scheduling my freight, because I'm kind of a stickler about that, you know. Now I look at Google Street Views, I look at Google Reviews, I look at the weather. I ain't gonna take no chances on no loads, you know. I can't afford to have one mistake being a one truck operation who has a little bit more debt than I should. I cannot afford one little mistake. I can't afford any extra time off. I have to keep pushing in these low rates in order to make the profits. I'm really hoping that the rates go up and the volumes go up to where I'll have more to pick from and better loads to pick from, because I mean, these low volumes and these low rates is killer. When you got bills to pay, bill collectors, they done got new shoes, and I done got too fat. Them rascals they catch me all the time now, and I have to fork over the money. I try to outrun them, but it just don't work. I mean, them guys, they've been working out. I'm talking about some Olympic runners. They find me. They find my checkbook too. Lord of mercy, hallelujah. But that's what's going on so far this week. We've had a pretty good week for a short week. I got a lot of things done at home, a lot of paperwork. I've got a lot of irons in the fire. I really do. But Lord willing, everything's going to work out for the best. And I've got some ideas to grow the company, and I'll be releasing some videos on that. I'm going to be looking for some owner ops. So if y'all know anybody, you can tell them to be watching or to go ahead and hit me up, and we can talk about it. The first guy that signs on is going to get the best deal, because we're going to have to work really close together to make everything, to streamline all the systems, because this is a brand new deal bringing on lease ops. I can get a trailer, any kind of trailer, you know, flatbed, reefer, dry van, hot shot. I'm not going to be picky. I want to be able to branch out in all of it. Anything but hazmat. Not touching hazmat. There's just too much risk. One mistake and it can cost you everything. It's just, you know, the day it is today. I saw a poor guy when I was on my way down to Houston. He was driving a hazmat tanker, and a motorhome pulled out in front of him just north of Houston on 59, and he creamed it. Man, it tore his steer tire up and everything, and he went out in the median, and the motorhome was tore up. It was a mess. But we got around it okay. Still made it there, but man, I'm glad that wasn't me. But that's all today. God bless. We will catch y'all on the next ride. May God bless you far and beyond your wildest dreams.